I think it's better I go up.
I think it is as well, yeah. Watch this again, Tilly's little garden down the front.
Possibly better I went up.
It's times like this that you're glad that Mary knocked the... Oh my God, your car is a lot bigger than mine, isn't it? You realise how small this space is. This is Rossanrubble, and this is Willy Maley returning to his granddad's home. Rossanrubble is on a peninsula next to Newport, a mile and a half out from Newport town, and it's where my great-grandfather came from.
Just amazing to think that my grandfather, who I never knew, who died in 1929, was brought up in this house and born in 1871. His older brother John, who's Eileen's grandfather, born in 1860. And it's amazing to think that at some point in the 1870s or 1880s there was a family gathering here at which they made the plans for some of the family going to, three of the sons going to Glasgow and three of the daughters going to Cleveland, Ohio. And obviously there was previous connections there because the John O'Malley had been over in sometime in the 1880s to Cleveland, Ohio. Of course he ended up coming back, dying here and being buried here. But so there was obviously a passage over to America, to Cleveland, Ohio, family connections there. My own father went to Cleveland, Ohio in 1930, January 1930, after his father died, with the plan of settling there, but he never did. He was supposed to be the advance party, and then his brothers were to go over as well, and it didn't work out that way. But obviously, so Cleveland, Ohio was one destination for the O'Maleys of Rossanrubble, Glasgow was another, and it's nice to see the elements of the family reunited, considering that Eileen's grandfather had been in, I think, in Glasgow as well as in Cleveland, Ohio. He was certainly in Glasgow for his younger brother's funeral in 1929. Is it my big pal? There you are. There you are. There you are. How you doing?
Well, that's our answer about walking around the field, because I'm not getting in the field with those lads. Jumping around all over you.
Would they?
Oh yeah, they're bullocks. They're not.
Are they bullocks?
I think so. I don't think they're cows, and that one has horns on it.
Yes.
I used to swing on this gate and I stand on that bit of stone, not fall over. Hello,
yes.
hello, hello. Don't fall over that wall, please.
You be careful. You be
careful. But he got the red neckerchiefs.
Good bunch, haven't you?
There used to be a shed here, and they had the old trap here. And when I was young, Mikey took us into. It was a beautiful old trap, and they sold it to somebody else. And somebody turned up an offer to buy it, and they sold it to them. But the horse was gone. But they took us into town once when I was a child on the trap, and it was just jigging along with the little road.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I've been there as well.
I'll tell you why. Your man, what's his name? Put down.
But it was the kind of grandmother she was trying out, you know, and Bridget's daughter. And it was the first time she was here, and we brought her down, and Mikey was in the car, and he told me to stop there. And he pointed over here someplace, and he said, that's where our grandfathers were born, someplace along here. But there would have been old cottages, just rough cottages.
Yeah.
And then when Penn bought the land and they built the houses, they all got a house, a little cottage, which was a luxury compared to what they would have had. That only came later. That came when Pim's finally sold out. Judge Pim died and he had no sons, 2 daughters, and his wife sold it. And it kind of changed a lot of things here, because there were plots. The person who bought it sold it off. There were a lot of Germans bought it. Do we pass any of the Germans also? There's one here.
There, yeah.
I think eventually they're all right. And there was then a road put across here. I hated it when I saw it first. The road going across there. We used to go over there for walks, you know.
There's a kind of another little island at the back of it.
Yeah.
Is that Rosbarna?
Yeah, well, it's an island.
Yeah.
but you can go across it when the tide is out. There's a causeway, like, and you can cross it. And then...
Newport House.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Lord Sligo.
All right.
Lord Sligo he bought it from. And he created this village and that village and another one there. But he did this village nicer because it was his driveway into his house. He had a house. They didn't really have a proper road. They had just kind of a...
But I have driven down here.
They didn't have lovely built stone wall. Look, I mean, look at it along there. Yeah.
Phoned my father and
She lived down there. The house with Paddy. They had no children. They were the caretakers.
yeah.
Well, Paddy's family was, and then Celia married in. She wasn't from here. So what,
Caretakers for what?
for this area, when the Paynes lived here, and they were only here in the summer.
Well, that
And
was
they would
about
come at Easter as well.
30 years ago. Somebody called Celia
Yeah.
phoned my father in Glasgow and said, "Are you of the?" She must have been through the phone book. She said, "Are you related to the O'Maleys of Rossanrubble?"
Oh,
And my father said yes.
yeah.
And then he didn't keep the conversation going because he wasn't very good on the phone.
Oh.
But I remember the name stuck in my head, and
Yeah,
I thought,
that's the only Celia
Celia.
I know.
Aye, it's
you
only
know.
Celia I know.
Why would she have been ringing them
I
up?
don't know really.
Maybe somebody had died
Maybe
at that
that's
time.
what I'm going to say.
She's
Maybe
thinking
that's
somehow.
who was left.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody at that time had died. And
But that's a house now you would think
Yeah.
that it would have been,
Or maybe
in a
somebody
big storm, that it would have
and
been,
said,
the water would get in. It never went into that house. So they must have known that whatever the flow was, it never went into that house, which is amazing.
Yeah.
She might have
Then
tried
on a
it
windy,
earlier then.
stormy night of winter, it wasn't that big. They added a bit onto it themselves, you know. But that's been bought over too, I think. I don't know if they're Germans or not. If they were all Germans at the beginning, but I'd say it's more a group of young people that have come. After Malcolm and I were married, we came down here for a few days with Mikey and Paddy, and the boat was tied up in front of the house, but they wanted to bring it to the back, which they often did. So because Malcolm was there and he could help Paddy row, so we got in, and the tide was full in, so we were able to go all around. But when we came to that, there's an island there where that tree is. Mikey said, pull in here, and I didn't know why we were pulling in, so we pulled in and we got out, and we went up, and I can't remember the spot very well, but there's a railing around it. Was it a grave? Anyway, but he said, this is where your baby, what he said was, first of all, your baby sister. I said, my sister? No, your aunt, he said, was my sister. And I said, I thought they were both buried over in the, and he said, no, one of them was buried here. And we never knew that. And my younger sisters, my younger aunts didn't know either. But they would have been very small when that baby was born, and they probably assumed that she was buried with the other one. But she was buried in there. So you've a little grandaunt buried down there. And that, I don't know if we could get a better view from the tail or not.
I
It's
don't
just a
think you
small-
can. I think this is the best
Yeah.
view of it.
Yeah, I don't think
I
I
can
don't
go up
think
here
it
and
will.
fall.
But wasn't there an old
can see it
church building or
But
something
there
out
was
on there?
something on it. There was a
Might
little
not
church
take
or
us both.
something. And then your man,
the trees.
the Protestant from over there, he was buried there as well.
All right, there was that Blackwell or
Blackwell, yeah. I don't know if you heard of Cross in Blackwell, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were one of the Blackwells. They were rich people. They had a house over there. They used to come in the summer. So Mr. Blackwell was buried there.
cows over
And
that
his three
should be-
ex-wives all came for the funeral and cried into the grave, I believe.
on the same little island.
Yeah, and the same as that. There was an old church in
Cross
Donegal,
Blackwell.
Three Cross Blackwells indeed.
They might not.
They might be very happy. They might be making loads of money.
This is the entrance to Kings now, so I thought, you have to go up the hill.
Are you okay, Andy?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm amazed at how well I feel.
Holding up the mast.
Seems that was an ancient coin. It's a nut. But just in case, I'm hoping I find a doubloon. Something from Grace O'Malley.
It is.